Hey guys, and welcome to this special episode of the Iron Workshop. So this lesson is not going to focus on anything in particular. I would still like to mention that the lesson about the missions is still coming. And after that, a lesson about making technologies. So this is not something instead of those, okay? So in this short lesson, I hope it will be short, probably not. I'll talk about the 5 most common errors and mistakes that at least me or I have made when I was modding Hearts of Iron 4. Okay, so these errors are really easy to fix, but the problem is that when you enable debug mode and you get the logs, it's not always clear where the problem is exactly. So this lesson will explain exactly what the issue is and how you can resolve it pretty quickly. Okay, so let's get to it. At the end of the lesson, stay tuned for a few tips. A summary of them is on the screen right now, but I will talk about them a little bit more at the end. And these tips can help you along the way when you create your mod. All right. So I have created a special mod that has some errors in it, and I have already launched Hearts of Iron 4, and these are the errors that I got. Okay, so let's go over them, and we will be fixing them one by one. There's also another error that you can't see here, and I will get to that in the end. Okay, so we have 2 errors regarding a state. The first one says state number 8 does not have a category defined, and state number 8 has no people living in it. Okay, so let's go into the folder of my mod. It's called the mod errors. And here I have added Luxembourg as a state, or I have added it. So I'll open it. And we'll see exactly what's causing these 2 errors. I'll open them side by side like this so we can see them together. All right, so let's go over the first one. Does not have a category defined. Okay, so this is something that you can encounter sometimes when you create a new state with the nudge tool that you have in the game once you launch the game in debug mode, right? You have the nudge tool that allows you to do some sophisticated stuff, but the tool is not perfect and it can sometimes cause weird results. You really need to be careful with how you use it. So sometimes you will get this error. What this means is that the state Luxembourg has no category. Now states in Hearts of Iron 4 have categories like urban states, let's say very dense urban states, pastoral states, things like that. These are there to give certain bonuses and also to define how many buildings you can build in each state, right? So a state which is, let's say, a wasteland, you will not be able to build as many buildings in it, military and civilian factories, for example, as you would be able to build in a state which is an urban one. Okay, so let's fix this one. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm going to show you where you can see all the state categories that you have in the game. So let's go to Hearts of Iron 4, the vanilla folder, and in here we'll go to common. And in common we have something called state category. Now these are all the categories. Now I have noticed from personal experience that while these names do match what you have here in the syntax in the file itself, it's still a better idea to open the file itself and copy the syntax from here. Okay, so we'll just copy the syntax as it is here. I will copy the state category syntax, and I will put it here under name. Now note, sorry, not state categories, state categories, category. Okay. Now note that you can put it either here or you can put it here at the bottom above provinces. In some files it's at the top, at some files it's at the bottom. It doesn't really matter. As long as it's in the file, the game will be able to read and assign the correct category. Okay, so let's give Luxembourg the proper category, which will be, I don't know, let's make it a large town. Okay, so I will copy this syntax, I will put it in here, and now Luxembourg has a category. Now let's move on to the next one before we reopen the game, just to see that we actually fixed these errors. So state number 8 has no people living in it. What this means is that we haven't assigned any manpower to the state. So if you want to recruit any soldiers, you will not be able to do it. So the game doesn't really like the fact that states are completely empty. Or at the very least, it's good to put the syntax of manpower in the state file. Okay, so I will go here above provinces, or we can put it here, again, doesn't matter. And we will write the syntax, which is manpower. And let's say that I want Luxembourg to have 100,000 manpower. Okay, great. So we fixed these two errors. Now let us just reopen the game. I just want to make sure that they are indeed fixed and that they don't come up anymore. Okay, as you can see, the errors are gone. Okay, so quite a common error with the log not being completely clear what it's about. Okay, now the next one is a bit tricky, and I know that this one is probably a big cause for frustration, since the log entry is completely absurd. It makes no sense at all. And you don't even know where to look and which file to look. So let me clear that up. It's a very simple fix. And once you fix it, you'll be asking yourself, wow, I can't believe this is something that kept me crazy all this time. Okay, so let's go over the error. So it says map invalid X crossing. What the fuck? Okay, please fix pixel at coordinates, blah blah blah. Okay, so I'll explain it very briefly. Okay, what this means is that in my mod, in my errors mod, I have, sorry, that's not the one. I have also edited the map. Okay, let's say, for example, maybe you try to add a new province. And if you want to see a lesson about that, I will have a link to that in the right corner. Okay, so obviously to add a province, you edited the provinces.bmp file. Now, what happens is the following. Let me just open this one in paint.net. Okay. Now, sometimes when you add provinces, these provinces, they have a meeting point, a collision between them, where you might have 5 provinces meeting at the same spot. Okay, I will show you in a second how it looks in the file itself. And that apparently makes the game go crazy. I think it has something to do with how the game calculates collision data and where units can move, things like that. So that's why it doesn't like that. So at the very most, as far as I know, you can have 4 provinces meeting at the same spot, the same pixel. If you have more than that, you will get that error. Now, obviously I know where I put the error, so I will show you. Okay, let's zoom in. I'm using the space key to scroll. Okay. And if we zoom in a bit more, here we are. Okay, so as you can see, hope I said that right. Sorry, it's 4 provinces. 4 provinces. So you can have 4 provinces meeting at the same spot. Okay. So let's look here. We have this blue one, this lighter blue one, the dark one, and the green one. They're all meeting in this one spot here. Okay, I hope you can see that. And this is what the game doesn't like. Okay, now how do you fix that? Well, it's very simple. I will take the color picker, and for example, I will take this color. Okay, and I will paint it like this. Okay, now see what happens. Now this province, the light blue province, is only touching this one, the dark one, and the blue one. It does not touch the green one, and so there is no collision between them. Okay, so that is fine as far as the game is concerned. Don't create these X's where you have 4 provinces touching each other directly. Okay, that's what this error is all about. I hope it's clear. I know it's a bit complicated, but if you watch some lessons, I think you're ready for it and you can deal with it. Okay, so that's all you need to fix it. Just make sure they don't touch. Save the file. Here on this menu, just let it auto detect. That's totally fine. Click OK. It saves the file, and we'll see in a minute that that error is no longer bothering us. Oh, but I didn't mention how you can find exactly where you have this problem. Sorry. So let's open this file again. Now you'll see that in this error it says at coordinates, and you have these numbers. Okay, so if you open the file in paint.net, here on the bottom you have coordinates for where each pixel is located in the file. Okay, so we know that it's 3134 on the X axis. Okay, so we'll just zoom in. Now if I'll travel with my mouse, as you can see, the numbers change. So now I'm at 2000, and if I go here, it gets up to 3000, and so on and so on. And as I get closer and closer, I get to that place. Now, obviously, if you're making a lot of changes, if you're making a lot of provinces, it can be very frustrating to look like this. This is the only way that I know. If you know a better way to find it, let me know, and I will definitely make a video about that. One suggestion that I have is that if you've added, let's say, 20 provinces, and now you have an error like that 20 times, then just scale it back. Okay, try to remove some of the provinces that you added. See how many, by how many the errors are reduced, and then just work your way one by one. Obviously, if you've added the provinces, you know where you've added them. Okay. All right. So this is about this error. So let us just close the game and make sure that it goes away and doesn't bother us ever again. Huzzah! As you can see, the error is gone, and we've done this fix, and the game is no longer bothering us. All right, so that's that. Now let's see what this is about. Error malformed token, democratic near line 240 in file history countries USA.txt near line 244. Okay, so you usually get this error when you create a new leader for a country. So in this case, I've created a new leader for the United States. Well, I haven't actually. I just changed one thing that's wrong about it, and there was a little mistake that I made. Okay, so let's see what's the mistake. I do know approximately where it is. So I know it's near to line 240. So in Notepad++, you have these lines on the left. So let's just go to line 240. Okay, there we are. Okay. So if we look at the Franklin Delano Roosevelt file entry, you will see that his ideology at line 240 is set as democratic. Now the thing is that the democratic is an ideology category, okay? It is not the ideology subcategory, right? So democratic can have a couple of subcategories, and that's what you need to put in here for the leader, okay? Now let's go into the ideologies file and it will become much more clear. So we'll go into Hearts of Iron 4, common, ideologies. We'll open this file. Okay, let me just try to open it separately here. Okay, so we can see both of them. So we see that democratic has three types of ideologies to it, okay? Types, okay? So it can be democratic because that's the big one, okay? So if I change this, for example, to conservatism or liberalism, it doesn't really matter. As long as I use the type, the subtype, it will make that error go away. Okay, so let me just close that. And once we fix this, we have no more errors in the log. Okay, as you can see, we have no error logs at this point generated by the game. Okay, so one last thing that I want to talk about is, and this is something for a bit more advanced modders who want to create new bookmarks. Okay, so let's go into bookmarks here. And in the country selection screen, sometimes I want to add a new country right here below the major countries, right? So let's do that. So how do I do that? I will go into my mod and we'll go into the common folder, bookmarks, and this is the one that we need. And for example, I have to go down, okay, because these are the major countries. And here we have the minors. So I will add a new country. Let's say that I want to have Afghanistan here, okay? We'll keep the description, all of this doesn't really matter. That's not what makes a difference. Okay, so I've added Afghanistan and it should probably show up in this list, right? But you'll see that it doesn't. Now, why it doesn't show up? It's because only countries that have focus trees, dedicated focus trees, show up under those major countries. Now, it so happens that countries that have dedicated focus trees are the countries that were included in the DLCs that were released, like Together for Victory and stuff like that. Okay, so if I want to have Afghanistan show up in there, I need to create a focus tree for Afghanistan. Okay, now if you want to learn how to create a focus tree, I will have a link to that again in the video on the right corner. And let's wrap this up. I hope these tips helped you. I know that some of these are things that I have struggled with when I began modding Hearts of Iron 4. And as you can see, the solutions are quite simple. So let's finish the video with a few tips for new modders, maybe for some a bit advanced modders as well. So first of all, watch those brackets. Now, as you have probably seen so far, most of the entries in the files have to end up with these brackets, okay? That's how the syntax works. And many times your files will not work simply because you missed a bracket, okay? Now, Notepad++ is a great tool for that. This is why you should definitely not use the regular Windows Notepad to change these files, since it's not syntax or code friendly. So in Notepad++, you first of all have these indent lines, okay, that show you where each bracket begins and ends. and it also highlights them in red. So you know that, for example, if this bracket doesn't close, and I will click on this one, it will show me that this one closes here, which doesn't really seem like it makes sense. And if, for example, neither of these is here, it will show that this bracket just doesn't close, which can cause problems, obviously. So use Notepad++ and the guidance that it provides to not miss those brackets. Okay, number 2, try to break issues into smaller parts. This is more relevant to modders who change many things, okay, so not just changing a flag or something like that. Sometimes you have a problem that comes up, or many things which work together and something doesn't work. So it's always a good idea to break down issues into smaller parts. One example would be, for example, if a leader is not working that you added into the game. Now, you need to break that problem into certain stages. Okay, so for example, what doesn't work? If it's only the picture of the leader doesn't work, maybe it's the picture file itself. Okay, that could be the reason. It could be that the game recognizes the picture, but it just can't show it for some reason because it's in the wrong format or something like that. So a good idea is to add the leader, go into the game, see if you have his name in the country selection. And if you have the name, that means that the entry for that leader, let me open the USA file again. Where's that file? Just so we can see what we're talking about. Okay, so if I see the name Franklin Delano Roosevelt, then I know that the game recognizes this whole entry, right? And that's a good thing, because now I can break down and see what exactly is wrong. Is it the ideology? Okay, you have to remember that for a leader to show up, for example, if I make a democratic government in the United States and my leader is not democratic and the ruling party is democratic, he will not show up. Okay, so break these problems into smaller parts so that you can identify exactly what's causing the problem. All right, number 3, follow vanilla game structure. As you have seen in my tutorials, the first thing that I do is to copy the folders and the files into my mod and copy the syntax so that I don't get stuck on that early point. Okay, it's always good to copy the game structure, and then the game should, in most cases, not have problems accessing your files. Okay, number 4, check the error report. So the error report that we have just seen can be terribly confusing sometimes, but in other cases, it does present you with good information. So for example, when we were talking about the leader entry problem, it shows you the lines that have the problem. Okay, that's very useful. Also, it can direct you towards the problem, even if you're not clear about the problem or what that error problem says, then try searching and Googling the problem. Okay, try asking on the, I don't know, Iron Workshop Reddit page, which you will have a link to everywhere, okay, on this channel at least. So, you know, just use that because it's another tool that can help you in solving these problems. Number 5, learn from other mods and modders. So let's say you want to do something in your mod that you maybe have seen something similar in another mod. Now, it's totally okay if you take the code from that mod and you implement it into your own. Now, obviously, if you use the exact same code, then it's a courtesy to reference the other mod, to let people know that you borrowed this code from that modder, since he probably came up with that system that you're using. But if you're taking it and you're changing it and you're adjusting it to what you need, that's totally fine. This is how most modding works, right? Because after all, we're working in the game framework. We're not really inventing completely new things here. All right, so that can be a good source to learn how to do things. And number 6, the last one, try to come back to a problem later. Okay, so for me, for example, sometimes I had these really annoying problems that I could not solve even for days sometimes. So I would sit on the same problem and I would try this and I would try that and here and there, and nothing works. And surprisingly, letting it go, continuing to other things, maybe some things that are easier, that are not such a big problem, can let your mind relax. Okay, and then when you come back to the problem, suddenly you see the solution. Okay, so try not to get obsessed about problems or issues that you have in your mod, and sometimes really coming back after a while to the problem to solve or to try to solve it again is a good idea. All right, guys, so I wish you all a happy new year. I certainly hope this one will be better than the last one, personally, and you know what's going on in the world today. As I said, it's a pleasure to be back. I hope you guys are finding these videos helpful. As I've said, I've opened the Patreon. I don't really want to get into the whole please give me money thing, so you know, whatever, it's totally fine. Just so you know that it exists, and I have a special bonus there right now, so you can check that out. So the next lessons will be about missions and techs, and I will probably at some point get back to some Europa Universalis IV modding videos as well. Perhaps some rants as well, but we'll see about that. Okay, so it's been a pleasure, and I will see you guys in the next lesson, tutorial, random video, whatever. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.